Meg the Stallion said bad bitches have bad days too, right? Like that's so
Yes, she
real.
did. Yes, she did. Yes.
Hi friends, welcome back to Sisterhood Tea Party Podcast. I'm Jessica.
And I'm Stephanie. As we're in the middle of February, we're keeping the love vibes going by talking about body positivity and self-love today.
That's right. While Valentine's Day has come and gone, we're shifting the focus from external love to self-love because no matter your relationship status, loving yourself comes first.
So grab your tea or beverage of choice and let's dive in.
But before we dive into our main topic, let's talk about what's been top of mind for us this week. Stephanie, do you want to start?
Yes. So as y'all know, I teach spin classes and I work out pretty regularly, but before I found the gym that I'm currently at, I ended up finding this boutique gym that's actually very close to me. And they have a style of workout that has like treadmills, but also floor work. So like HIIT training. And so I was intrigued. So I ended up signing up for a trial on ClassPass and booked the class. But long story short, this instructor made a comment that I was just like, ooh, I don't know that I want to be around. She had said something along the lines of, you need to run faster to burn off that food, which is like actually insane to say that to people in a class, that they have to like run faster or do this and that to burn off food, burn off calories. That's just such a gross thing to say. And I literally stopped the treadmill and I was like, I'm out of here. And like people were like looking around and I was just like, fuck this shit. So I told the front desk because they were like, hey, like what's going on? Like class is not over. I'm like, oh, I'm done. Like that instructor needs to be trained on like the types of things that you say in class and things that you don't say, because it was absolutely ridiculous. So you need to be very careful about the way that you coach. Especially if you're a coach or fitness professional, you need to be very careful about the way that you speak to people in your classes. Like you don't say things like that because that's very triggering for some people. And I told her that's very harmful language and you should not be associating working out with earning food or being able to burn off food. That's ridiculous. And so that's just very icky to me. And I have zero tolerance for that in any fitness capacity.
That's a really good flag too for people who maybe are trying to get into fitness or trying to do classes. If they have an instructor that's talking to them like that, like, and they're dreading going, it's probably not you, it's them. It's the instructor,
100%.
and that's probably not the class for you.
Yeah, I just feel like that is just a huge projection of maybe their own insecurities, which that's something you need to work through at that point, but don't do that in class.
Yeah, for sure.
What about you?
Yeah, so for me, I was in the gym 2 days ago now, I think is when this was, and I was actually feeling super self-conscious because, okay, so I hurt my back a few months ago and I was at the gym and I was like lifting really heavy and I was like, I can do this. And I was being stupid and I hurt myself and I've been dealing with it ever since. And so I'm really back to doing like the most basic ab exercises, no weight glute bridges, like etc. while I'm trying to heal this. And so I was there and I was doing these on the mat and I was feeling super self-conscious because I'm like looking around and there's all these like hot gym baddies who are like lifting heavy around me. And I was like, I probably look so stupid doing this. I was like really, really in my head about it. And so I was like, okay, you're never going to get better if you don't do this. Like I can't lift heavy. There's a reason I'm not doing that and I cannot do it. And I have to work back up to that and like really heal myself. So y'all know that I'm a book girly. I'm big on book talk and all of that. And yes, I did finish Onyx Storm and loving all of that. But so I was like, okay, what's the point of like being obsessed with these books and these like amazing female characters if I can't like take that into my real life? So I embodied my inner female character, like main character, and I pretended that I was one of these girls in one of these books because, you know, in these books, they're always start weak and then they got to train with some hot husky man. And the next thing you know, they're strong and they're fighting the world. And so I pretended, for those of you who like ACOTAR, that Cassian was there with me and he was training me and it was just me and him. And he was telling me I was doing great and he was pushing me. And even though, you know, I was doing some pretty basic exercises, he was there with me and it helped me get through that exercise. So yeah, that was me showing myself some self-love through my inner thoughts by channeling the voice of Cassian, the hot warrior man from ACOTAR. So,
See, I don't know any of that. But I do love that you like worked through that as you're at the gym. You're like, listen, like I'm not at that level yet, but like, how can I get through this workout now and continue to motivate myself to keep coming? Because, like you said, you only get better if you keep going. And so you're like, hell yeah, I'm going to channel my inner gym baddie, which you are a gym baddie to begin with, but you're like my inner gym baddie.
Yeah.
And look at you, you dominated the workout. So that's amazing.
Thanks, girl.
I got you. I got you. But let's switch gears and move into our topic today, which is body positivity and self-love. So what is that really all about?
I mean, it's so top of mind, I think, from what what we were just talking about. Like, body positivity is really about accepting, loving your body as it is right now. Even though I'm injured, I need to still love my body. And I think that that's like really celebrating every shape, every size, and rejecting society's unrealistic standards, even if that means the unrealistic standards are things like earning food, which is crazy. I'm still not over that story. It's just unrealistic.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the biggest lessons I've learned in my life, self-love does go deeper than just physical appearance. I feel like it's really about embracing your entire self. That includes mind, body, and soul without judgment. I think we're our own worst critics, and we tend to be very, very harsh on ourselves when it comes to a variety of different things. I know for me personally, I have my days where I'm just like, you know what? I do not feel like a baddie. I don't look like a baddie. I don't walk like a baddie. I don't talk like I just have this inner battle with myself. And there are days where I'm just like, I'm a bad bitch and nobody can tell me different. So I feel like it's really the opportunity for us to learn to appreciate ourselves, even the parts that you struggle with, even the parts that you're still dealing with and wanting to work through. And that's completely okay. But I think with that, if you're able to love yourself in those moments, it gets better as you continue to go through your journey, whatever your journey is.
100%. I think Meg the Stallion said bad bitches have bad days too, right? Like, that's so
Yes,
real.
she did. Yes, she did. Yes.
Yeah, I think like many of us, I would say all of us, especially as women listening to this, like, we've been taught to be critical of our bodies. We grew up, especially us millennials, grew up in an age where like skinny ruled the world, and like we were taught to really compare ourselves to other people. You look at on social media and you see everyone on social media and they're all just like these like idealistic standards of what beauty is supposed to look like from a societal perspective. And I think that can really damage our self-esteem, and research has shown that that can damage your self-esteem. And I always think about like, whenever I feel myself kind of trying to compare myself to others around me, I try to remind myself to look like I've been doing that my whole life, right? We've been doing that our whole lives. And if I look back at old pictures of myself now, I'm like, wow. I I look back at those pictures and I'm like, she looked beautiful. She looked happy. She looked like she was in a good place. Like, those are the things I look at. But then I know, like, in those moments, I was comparing myself and I was thinking, this part I don't like, this part I don't like, when I looked at that, like when I originally posted that picture. And so now I try to be more conscious of that. If I feel like I'm comparing myself, I'm like, in 10 years, I'm going to look back and love this picture. So what is stopping me from actually loving myself now?
Yeah, I really think that's a great point, because I did the exact same thing. I mean, the millennials, we had commercials that told us about these teensy teensy, yellow polka dot bikinis, like these Yoplait commercials and all of these other
Yes.
commercials that were so focused around eating small portions to fit into said dress, bikini, whatever it was. So that mentality, at least for me too, stuck with me. And I would look at these photos. Now I look at them, I'm like, wow, there really wasn't, in my head, I was like, this girl looks great. She looks amazing. She's living her best life. But to your point, yes, I was very much so critical of the way that I looked that I did extreme measures to get to what that looked like, that I didn't even have to do that. And now I'm here and I sit here and I'm just so in awe of my body and the things that it can do and the things that it's capable of. I mean, I think that I'm the strongest that I've been in probably the last, honestly, ever. I'm just proud of myself for being able to kind of move through these. And it's not, don't get me wrong, it's not easy. I feel like the path to self-love is not about perfection. It's about progress and acceptance. So being able to understand that, like, yes, I feel good about where I am right now and continue to like lean into that, I think is important. And I understand that it's different for every person.
1,000%. I think that brings us to how, like, our next point is like, how can we actually start this journey of body positivity? Because I do think we've excelled as a society where we like acknowledge this is a thing, that we're going to be constantly comparing, that the media is hurting us and things like that. So how do we actually start this journey of like flipping that in our brains of like, be positive, self-love, like love yourself for where you are today?
I feel like the first step is kind of changing the way that we talk to ourselves, the way that we speak about ourselves. You know, the negative self-talk is very real. And it's one of the things, you know, I've been trying to work on. We need to shift our focus from thinking about our flaws and imperfections and focusing on what our bodies can do. Like I mentioned earlier, like be so proud of what your body can do and what it's capable of. I feel like shifting your mindset from criticism to appreciation goes a long way. So if you're able to sit there and be like, you know what? I am amazing. I am beautiful. I am capable. I am strong. All of these affirmations, I think, are so helpful in allowing you to see yourself in a better light.
Mm-hmm. And I know some people like don't believe in affirmations. Like it doesn't work. Like it doesn't work overnight, you know, but like that's part of what you're doing is tricking your brain into like believing that. The more you say it, the more you believe it. And I think it's so important to practice that gratitude for our bodies. Like you said, like think about everything your body allows you to do, whether it's walking, dancing, simply breathing, like being able to be there with your loved ones, with your family. Like these are things we're celebrating. We talk a lot about small wins and celebrating small wins on this podcast, but like that's not even a small win. That's a big win. Like you are living your life because of your body and you should love it where it is today. It doesn't, you can want to make it better, but you don't have to make it better to still love it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think, and I tell my spin classes this all the time, that I think it's so important that you celebrate the movement that you can do. Like you're in a spin class, 45 minutes, it's hot in here. We're adding, you know, all of the speed and gear, and you should just be so proud of yourself for getting up and being here because not everybody can do this. And I think it's just, you know, to your point of practicing gratitude, and for that reason alone, I think will go a long way. I also feel like with that is setting boundaries with social media. So we get on social media, and I don't know about you, but my Explore page, anytime I check my Explore page right now, it is filled with like fitness influencers, gym workouts, just like, and I don't know if it's because like, I don't know, my phone's listening to me or something, that I've been like wanting to elevate my workout routines or something, but that's all I see, which is all fine if I'm wanting to pick up a new workout. But the issue that I kind of caught myself doing is I'm scrolling being like, oh, wow, they look amazing. How do I get like that? And I'm getting in there and being like, well, how can I fix this? And how can I fix that? And be like, wait, pause. You're just here for the workout. Watch for the workout and move on. Don't compare yourself because we don't know anybody's story. We don't know how they got there. Most of the time, you have no idea how they got to this point. So I feel like setting a boundary with social media is important. Following accounts that promote healthy, realistic body images, balanced eating, things like that, things that feel good to you, I think really help change the narrative. If I catch myself doing that, I just block, or I will kind of I don't know how, like blocking them out of my Explore page, or just to kind of like keep it more positive and not have me spiraling, if that makes sense.
100%. And I think that happens not just when it comes to like fitness related stuff or how I look kind of things too. Like I have done this before when it comes to travel content, right? Like I love travel, right? And you know, my account's a lot about travel, but I have caught myself in times where I'm consuming so much travel content that I start to feel negative about the travel that I've done because it's not enough. Like, oh, now I need to go here, I need to go there, I need to be traveling 24/7. And then I catch myself in that too, where I'm like, ooh, this isn't healthy. I shouldn't be feeling envious about this stuff. I shouldn't be feeling bad about the things that I do because of what I'm seeing others do. So I think you're 100% right. And I think like there's detoxing and there's like other kinds of self-care rituals that depending on what it is you're working on from a self-love perspective that you can do. So whether it's like spa day, journaling about your feelings, because I think it's important to stress that like feeling this way isn't wrong, right? Like we as a society and just as humans, this is natural that we feel this way. And sometimes you just have to get those feelings out so that then you can come up with that plan of like how to flip things. And I think journaling can be a good way to do that. Or just taking a moment to breathe and step away. Those are all acts of self-love, of doing things for yourself. And these small things can remind us to really take care of ourselves. And I think the thing to remember is like, I think sometimes people think that self-care rituals we might have talked about this before, but like self-care rituals are supposed to feel good in the moment. And that's not actually true, I don't believe. I think it's like when you're doing something for self-care, it is often doing something for later you. So maybe you don't want to do that journaling right now. Maybe you don't want to do that meditation. You don't want to, I don't know, do your skincare routine that night, but like you're doing that for tomorrow you, for next week you, and those things. And so I always try to remind myself that when I'm like, I really need to do something self-care, but I just like don't even want to right now. I'm like, later me will thank me if I just get up and do it.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's so valid because I do catch myself being like, I don't really feel like doing this, but I'm like, wait, if I wake up tomorrow and I haven't done whatever it is, I know I'm going to be thinking about, well, I should have just done it. I should have just got over it, So I think in the moment, just learning to kind of regulate and be like, okay, let's just start small and kind of build up to those things and just have it part of your routine because I think that will make a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like also it's important to recognize that body positivity is not always about feeling 100% confident because that happens. Your girl, bitches have bad days too. You know what I mean? Like bad bitches have bad days, sad days, rough days, whatever it is. But I feel like it's important to accept yourself on the tough days by showing yourself compassion. So being able to give yourself grace, sit with yourself, understand your feelings, know that they're valid, and know that like you're going to bounce back and you're going to be okay. So with all of that being said, how do we put this into practice? How do we make these, practical tips that we've kind of talked about set us up for the future?
100%. We've said it already, but I think the biggest thing is really starting small. Like you're not gonna, like if you're feeling like you're not loving yourself, you're not gonna like flip that overnight, right? So start small, practice the affirmations for a while, every day. Tell yourself something kind about your body or your personality, and these little habits start to build up over time.
I would agree with that. And also, I feel like it's so important to surround yourself with supportive people. I am absolutely blessed to have you in my life as well as my other friends, my community that I love, and my family too. I mean, I'm just thankful that I have people who remind me of my worth and who remind me you are a bad bitch. You're an amazing friend. You're an amazing sister. You're an amazing person. That is just so needed. And I just feel like it's nice to have those reminders from those people who love us that we are enough and we are worthy and we are capable. It's very important. Quick shout out to all of y'all. Thank you so much.
Yes, community is key. I agree 1,000%. Another practical thing I think you can do is like curate a wardrobe that makes you feel good. Like wear clothes that fit and flatter your body as it is today. Like I cannot like not as you wish it was. Like I cannot even tell you how many times I've like bought something for when I was younger, for my ideal self, my ideal weight that I never wore. The tags never came off. It was stupid. And then it just sits in your closet and stares at you and you're angry at it and you're like, I'm not that. And you're comparing yourself to this like article of clothing that is arbitrarily just a different size than what you are. And so I think when you can throw out all those old clothes, like I threw out all my old ones from college years ago, but like, and just really focused on like, this is where I am today. This is my body now. And I started buying clothes for my body as it is now. Like, I just felt so much more confident about myself. And I think that's a big thing. Like, yes, if you decide that, or if your body changes in some way, you gain weight or lose weight later, yeah, you can buy a new wardrobe then too. But like constantly comparing yourself to this other thing that you're not today, I think can contribute to that negative self-talk. And so just curating where you are now and it'll help you love your body.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think I also struggled with that for a very long time. And one day I just was like, this is just not working. This is where I am right now. And I need to find things that fit me. And so it's been honestly really encouraging to then go on social media. So going back to the social media part and find creators who have similar, like kind of like my similar vibe, ones that like have different like outfits that like I would wear and things like that, and seeing how it fits on their body, being like, oh, this person has a very similar body type to me. I'm going to try that. And 9 times out of 10, it has worked. And so being able to curate kind of my own wardrobe and find things that just make me feel good, it's a great feeling. It's a great feeling to have clothes that fit you. And last week, and we talked about this already, it is completely okay to have bad days. Okay. We've said it already. It's okay to have bad days. Just like any relationship, your relationship with yourself is going to have ups and downs. So I feel like the biggest thing to remember is you need to keep showing up for yourself every single day. In the hardest moments, in the joyous moments, you need to show up for yourself because that is how this world is tough. Okay. The easiest thing you can do is, and easiest and hardest thing at the same time, is to be kind to yourself. Make that a priority. Be kind to yourself always.
I love that. Okay, so now that we've shared some of the steps to embracing self love, it's time for one of our favorite games, overrated or underrated.
So we're going to talk about specific trends in body positivity and self-love, and we're just going to talk through it and, figure out, are they overrated or underrated? So first, heavily editing your photos. Jess, overrated or underrated?
Yeah. I know when we were prepping for this episode, I was like, we're really going to actually expose all my insecurities with this episode, which is good because it's real. I will say, I think that it is probably overrated, but the reality is I do it. I would say, okay, heavily editing is like pretty broad. I use smoothing filters on mine. And that's probably my most used thing. And when I film on TikTok, I use filters. But I have in the past, but I do not currently do like the ones on like my body, like, sucking things in and things like that. I don't do that anymore. I did when I was younger, and I realized that was really not healthy. I would love to be in a space where I could feel comfortable not doing the smoothing stuff, but where I am today, the reality is I do it. And it's not that I want to promote that in any way for anyone, and I hope everyone feels love for themselves where they don't do it, but that is one of my own growth areas currently. How about you?
I can respect that. For me, it's also overrated. But I also have been guilty of editing my photos. I looked back at like the ones from like 10 or so years ago where they were like incredibly smoothed out filters, increase the intensity of the photo to make it look like sharper. I changed my eye because I was very like I changed my eye color, added lashes, all the things, and also messed with like the body shaping, like all of these from like 10, 15 years ago when when we had access to it. Now, I think the most editing I'll do is maybe like probably a little bit of smoothing. And I was telling you this earlier when we were prepping that like I will go in and if there's something that's like temporary on my skin, I'll edit it. So like if I have like some acne or something, I'll go in and smooth it out because I'm like, well, it's going to be gone in like a week. So that's like as much as I would do. I guess realistic editing, if that makes sense. Making it still obviously look like me, you would never be able to tell, but doing like the temporary editing. Anyway, yeah, so I would say it's probably overrated. I don't need to do that, but I do it anyway. But again, not to encourage it. We're just being honest. Cheat days, overrated or underrated? I'll start. I think, I think they're overrated also. And I say that going off of what I said in the beginning about labeling food as bad and having to work it off. There's no bad, in my opinion, and I feel that there are some people who might agree with me as well. I don't think there's any bad food and there isn't like good food. There are just foods that are like more nutritious for you to be eating in your balanced eating, whatever that is. I don't believe in cheat days anymore. I think when I was starting out my fitness journey, I was like, okay, yes, I'm going to eat clean for 6 days of the week, and my seventh day is a cheat day. And there are people who are like, well, cheat day versus cheat meal. There's a whole thing. For me is I kind of follow the 80-20 rule of like 80% is pretty balanced, making sure I'm getting my proteins, fats, carbs, all of that. And then the other 20 are, if I'm going out to dinner with friends and I want a margarita or I want, some really cheesy enchiladas or some queso and chips, I'm going to eat it and I'm not going to feel bad about it. So I think cheat days are overrated. I think everything in moderation, balanced eating, I think is key. What about you?
Yeah, I hear all of that. I would say it's appropriately rated. So I think that like there's the concept of a cheat day and then there's the structure of a cheat day. The concept of a cheat day and thinking about it as like cheating, like language is important here. Cheating is not
Mm-hmm.
great, right? Like there should be a different word. I've heard people use different words. I can't think of what any of them are right now, but like, you know, they're probably a better term we could call this than cheat day, because it is reinforcing that idea that you're like this like negative relationship with food. And so on that part, I think that's like makes it overrated. But then I feel like it's more underrated because I'm very much a structure person, and I like need, in order for me to stay like maintain a healthier lifestyle, I do need the discipline of like, hey, this is how I'm structuring what I'm eating for these days, and then I have a day where I don't feel like I have to have as much structure, which is what I would call my cheat days. And so I think that if you're the kind of person that works well with that kind of structure and it keeps you on track, then I think it can be a good thing. But I don't think that's the only way to do it. Like you just talked about the 80-20 rule. Like if that works for you, then like you should do that and you don't need a cheat day. And I probably should find a better term for using cheat day. That's where I'm at.
I think that's fair. I don't know what the other terms are, honestly. So we'll do some research. We can get back to that. So,
Yeah.
Okay, next one. Fitness challenges. Overrated or underrated?
They're underrated. I think they can be fun. Like if you don't treat it as like, I'm going to be a failure if I don't do it, I think it can be fun. Like, you know, I did 75 medium over the summer with my sister. Don't get me wrong, it was hard, but it was fun because I had someone else I was doing it with. Like it was motivating. Like I feel like it just like, I felt better. I, you know, really was just like, it made me more energetic. It made me happier. Like I really loved it. And so I really enjoyed that challenge. Now, obviously there's like extreme things that are not great in this, but I think if you can make it a fun thing and it's like more of a social element, I think they're underrated. How about you?
I think they're appropriately rated. And I say that with the experience of being in specific, and I think I'm speaking more from like the group fitness aspect.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been a part of different group fitness gyms. So there's one gym in particular that is like their bread and butter. That is fitness challenges, 45-day challenges. And like they have like the whole body scanner and they're like measuring all this stuff. And it can get very critical and very nitpicky, especially if you like don't hit your goal or whatever. And I just feel like that has like a negative connotation behind it, because then that discourages you from wanting to try again, or you feel like, oh, well, I failed this one because I didn't hit my goal weight or my goal body fat percentage, whatever. Fine. And the other part of that too is making sure you're in the right mental space to do a fitness challenge to that caliber. If you know that even though you may not get to said goal, maybe you get close, be okay with that. I think there are some people who are just not mentally ready for something like that, and I think it affects them more than they think. That's one aspect. The other aspect, I'm part of a gym currently that does not believe in fitness challenges. And their reasoning behind it is because you don't want to get trapped into a mindset of like having to always like challenge yourself when you could just be continuously working and keeping and maintaining that and making it sustainable for longer. So why don't you just work towards getting stronger, getting better without having any limit to it? And so that's kind of where I lean now. And again, because I've been on both sides. I've been on the extreme end and this other extreme end, right? So I think for me, it's appropriately rated based on where you're at. If you are in the mental space that you can handle a challenge where you're like, it's okay either way, then I say go for it. But if you do not feel that you can handle the possibility that you may not get to said goal that you're setting for yourself, I would rethink it and maybe do something that's a little bit more on the lines of like, how can I start this journey to just sustain it and make it last? So that's where I'm at with it.
I think you're so right. It is like it all comes back to what is the outcome of what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
right? Whether it's talking about cheat days, whether it's talking about challenges, like whatever it is, like if it leads to you comparing yourself in some negative way or feeling badly about yourself, then like that's like when to remove yourself, right?
I agree. Okay, the last one that we have, body acceptance movements, overrated or underrated? I think they're underrated. I think it's just so important to accept where you're at right now. I think that those movements have empowered a lot of women to embrace who they are and where they're at right now with their body, because I think that allows you to enter maybe a fitness journey if you want to, or just you know, work out in ways that feel good to you, finding things that you can sustain and become healthier in other aspects. I think people should do their research and look into it and not just like associate it with being like, well, I think it's just people looking for an excuse. I don't think that's it at all. I think I've heard that side of it too. I feel like that's just an uneducated thing to say. But I think they're underrated. What do you think?
Agree 1,000%. I think body acceptance movements are super underrated. And I've had conversations with people about this before, people who are like, it is just promoting unhealthy behaviors and things like that. And I think that's absolute BS, especially, I think for men too, but especially for women. Like, I look at it as like, we have been taught since day one to compare ourselves. Every single time I look in the mirror, I think about my body. And I have to, like, the reason we're having this conversation today is because we are actively, constantly trying to get to a place where we talk more positively about ourselves than negatively, because our entire lives we've been taught how to criticize ourselves. And so then to see these movements where you see people in every shape, every body type, like every like age, all of these different dynamics that like affect what you look like, and to see them openly loving themselves for that, like, to me is like a beautiful thing, because I can be like, that can be me, right? Like, that can be me. I don't have to be perfect, and nobody's perfect. And what is perfect in the first place, And so I think it's so important, because I don't think, I think I'm just going to say it, like, I don't think men have been taught to compare themselves in that way as strongly as women have in society. And so I
Mm-hmm.
think that often you hear the arguments are from men saying that it is, promoting negative things. And I'm sorry, but you have not been taught to look in the mirror and hate yourself every single day in the way that women have. And so to see people openly loving themselves is a powerful, important thing that we have in society now. And I'm grateful that we are part of a society that's like promoting that more and more.
I 100% agree with that. I
That's my
think I
soapbox.
agree with that. Yeah. You're like, and end. I think that's great. But I really enjoyed this conversation. I think this needed to be said. I know we've kind of talked like bits and pieces throughout our episodes, but I really love that we were able to focus on this and kind of close out. Before we wrap up, this is our final drop of tea for the day.
Yes, we hope you guys are feeling inspired to embrace positivity and self-love.
Remember that this is a journey, so be kind to yourself each and every day, every step of the way.
We'll see you guys next time on Sisterhood Tea Party Podcast, and be sure to subscribe and follow us on all the socials.
And keep spreading that self love, friends. Bye.